Breaking news. President of the University of Georgia is ready to vote. Next week in Destin, Florida for the SEC to create their own mechanism, their own rules for an SEC breakaway. This is not officially on the Southeastern Conference docket for next week. But this threat is real because I'm telling you, as Morehead, as On3 has already reported just minutes ago, Morehead wants to send a message to everybody. Wants to send a message, wants to shake it up. These conferences are no longer governable. They're not operational. Morehead is telling everybody, and he's been saying this for months, if we cannot get congressional action, if we cannot get help from the federal government, and we're not going to get that help, we're going to have to go our own way. Ladies and gentlemen, DEFCON 1 is no more. We're beyond DEFCON 1. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell. That is very important when you subscribe because we can come on live at any time. This is a good example. Breaking news. breaking news. The University of Georgia, President Morehead coming out firing today. And we're going to talk about the college football playoffs, what it's looking like, what the SEC, their messaging is all about, ESPN. But the big news just happened. President Morehead is ready for next week. And this is not just your typical president. This is not your typical president. This is the president of Georgia. The president of Georgia. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. You know how this works. We're going to do a monologue. Then we're going to get to your phone calls. If you want to support this independent national rebel outpost of college football with a donation, help us keep the lights on and keep growing this channel, just hit that $sign where you make your comments, and I will get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's a breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. We're going to get right into it. We will get to our spotlight here in a bit. The North Carolina Tar Heels is our spotlight team for May 21st. But first of all, boy. Here we go. Matt Hayes. Let me get this off the board here. Hold on, everybody. Hold on 1 second. Let me clear that up. Matt Hayes, USA Today, just came out with this post on X. Georgia President Morehead with some groundbreaking public comments on the state of college football to reporters after the athletic board meeting. Quote, President Morehead of Georgia, if we don't get federal legislation, in my opinion, we're going to have to do this conference by conference because we can't allow the Wild West to continue any longer. I'm prepared next week. Not a month from now, not 2 months from now, as we've been talking about this for months. Next week, I am prepared next week in Destin, Florida, to be ready to vote on creating a Southeastern Conference mechanism, Southeastern Conference rules that we have to do if Congress isn't going to act as they should. We just cannot continue down this current path. We have waited months after months for Congress to act, and it hasn't occurred yet. Now, let me pinpoint a few things here. D5 Terp silos today, expansion later today. I don't think that's going to happen. I know you're being a little facetious, but look, we got to hold on a second. Hold on, everybody. Everybody calm down. It's not on the agenda to do any voting. We'll get into that in a little bit here. And even if they did vote on some rules, they've been working on it. The Southeastern Conference has been working on what it would look like. The Big Ten has been working on what it would look like. Nobody's starting from scratch here. The Southeastern Conference is not starting from scratch. Okay? Let's first of all, let's understand that. But now I might be wrong. Right? We talk about how it seems like everything is quickening, right? We're going into this bolt of change. more change in college football, college sports, but it tends to be quickening. Like, it's coming faster than anybody would anticipate. But if you read Morehead's comments here, I don't think they're talking about I'm prepared or ready to vote for a breakaway come May 26th, May 27th, May 28th in Destin, Florida. I believe what President Morehead is saying, I'm ready to vote on the rules. I'm ready to show everybody what the Southeastern Conference has been working on. And then we're going to give, this is my guess, everybody, not a report. But I think the Southeastern Conference is going to show everybody what they've been working on, how serious they are in their breakaway, in their governance, conference governance. And I think they're going to put a little bit of a deadline, like saying, all right, federal government, you do not have much more time left. This is almost over. I don't believe the Southeastern Conference is going to vote to break away in Destin, Florida next week. I could be wrong. I mean, it's May 21st. We're 5 days away from the meetings. Who knows what's going to happen in those 5 days? Who knows? There might be other pot shots coming from the Big 12 ACC country toward the SEC. There might be some more political campaigning going on and using the SEC, whatever. But at this point, and we do got further reporting on this, which we're going to get to in a second here. The breaking news is not that the Southeastern Conference is going to vote for a breakaway next week. The breaking news is that Morehead is ready to vote on the rules, what the SEC would look like, the mechanism, the enforcement arm. Morehead wants to send a message next week. The Southeastern Conference is done waiting. They're done. It's over, Johnny. This kumbaya thing, it's not working. Nobody can govern. It's not just the Southeastern Conference. It's not just the Big Ten. It's the ACC. It's the Big 12. It's not just the Big Ten schools. Some of them, there's a lot of schools not following the cap rules. There's a lot of schools tampering. There's a lot of schools doing whatever they want to do. And of course, we talked about last night how there is this split happening right in the middle of the Power Four conferences. Morehead is sending a message. And his voice is loud, clear, and powerful. Let me get to more reporting on this. Let me get to more reporting on this. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. This is on 3 report. Morehead, the University of Georgia President Morehead once again expressed frustration with the College Sports Commission and the lack of the congressional action on collegiate athletics legislation. In January, Morehead mentioned the potential to create separate rules for the Southeastern Conference if the situation did not resolve. With the SEC spring meetings next week, he isn't backing down from that stance, the president of Georgia. If we don't get federal legislation, in my opinion, we're going to have to do this conference by conference because we can't allow the Wild West to continue any longer, Morehead said. So, I'm prepared next week in Destin to be ready to vote on creating an SEC mechanism and SEC rules, and that's what we have to do. Congress isn't going to act as they should. Now, Morehead didn't go as far as saying the vote is on the agenda for next week, as we've already said here at the top of the program. He does feel that it would create movement in the college athletic space. I think the SEC is still a player that when we create rules, it'll get noticed by the other conferences, Morehead said. I think everybody's craving some order in this chaos. So if the Big Ten does it or the SEC does it, I expect other leagues will follow suit and do what they need to keep their leagues operational. Morehead believes that if the SEC goes out of the gate and sends this message that we're going to create our own rules, we're going to go by our own rules, we're going to enforce our own rules, we're going to have our punishment to those who do not follow the rules, we're going to have some structural fracture away from the NCAA. That's what Morehead is saying right now. We need to be able to be operational. We're not even operational at this point. The Southeastern Conference needs to have conference governance. And they're ready. Morehead is ready to vote on it next week. In other words, this thing has been socialized to death inside the Southeastern Conference. They've already gotten written up some rules that they basically all agree on. If they don't, it's going to be by probably majority vote, whatever. But they're ready to act. Morehead is ready to act, and he's not the only president. There's no way that Morehead came out and said this and he's out on an island. We know that. The Southeastern Conference is ready to take action. At the very least, by the end of Destin, Florida, by the end of the spring meetings in Southeastern Conference, they would have sent a large message to Petiti, to Yormark, to Phillips, to the media partner, to Charlie Baker, and everybody else. We are ready to go alone. And their probably strongest message that the Southeastern Conference is going to send in Destin, Florida, is probably to the politicians. We're not getting help. Some of you are campaigning against us. We're done. We are done. We are done. We're not getting any legal protection. We're trying to do it what we believe. We're trying to do it right. We're trying to get the House settlement codified, but we're not getting anywhere. We have spent millions of dollars. We have given millions of dollars to politicians, their consultants, and we've gotten nowhere. Not only has nothing passed in the last 7 years, nothing has even gotten to a vote in the last 7 years. And it's not by the lack of effort. It's not by the lack of consensus. Remember, all Power 4 conference schools signed on the dotted line for the House settlement. They've all agreed to the structure. They all agreed to campaign in D.C. to get some codification. But it's not working. It did not work. So again, what other option does the SEC have? What other option is there? To start over? For us just to have better meetings? Just to have better management? What exactly is the option? Other than everybody going their own way. Now, I'm just talking off the top of my head here. You know, the college football playoffs. We've been talking about the college football playoffs forever, right? You know, I'm for 24. Other people are for 12, 16. PATC came out and said it's not going to be 16. They're not even having conversations about 16. The Big Ten is okay with the college football playoffs of 12 teams. And then they'll just wait until this media contract is over. The Southeastern Conference, there is some movement that wants the college football playoffs of 24 teams. Sarkisian came out today and said something like he'd rather have 12. He'd rather have 4. Okay, whatever. The point is this. While I do think there's a whole lot of momentum to go to the playoffs of 24, the SEC is about to start voting on rules and mechanism for a breakaway, how it would look like. This sent a message. There are 2 different tracks, right? But at some point, they got to intervene. The college football track and the silo track, at some point, those 2 tracks, those 2 trains are either going to collide or they're going to coordinate each other. One's going to go in front of the other. Something has got to happen with that. And I have been talking with a couple of people late last night. And it's impossible to see Pete Petiti getting out the 24-team playoff, the support of the 24-team playoff. It is really difficult for Sankey and the SEC to support a 24-team playoff right now. First of all, a lot of them don't agree with it. Some of them do. A growing number probably does. But if you're going to go in your silo, you know, one of the reasons why you're going in your silo, the main reason why you're going in your silo in a conference governance situation is because in the outside world, you perceive it as ungovernable. You don't trust anybody. So to go to a 24-team playoff, and one of the reasons, selfish reasons on my part, to be the captain of the Army of 24 is because I figured the college football of 24 would keep us together longer, have a better chance to be the glue that would keep us together, just like what has happened in basketball. One of the reasons why I support it. But it doesn't seem consistent, right? I'm hoping that the Southeastern Conference, the movement to the 24-team playoff, that movement is going to keep, the wave is going to keep growing and growing and growing, and finally they're going to say, 24-team playoffs, but we're going to have to get more money. We're going to have to get some things out of the deal. But if the Southeastern Conference, if President Morehead is gearing up to vote a mechanism on rules to be put out there, just in case the Southeastern Conference pulls the trigger on a breakaway, I don't think the college football playoffs of 24 teams is going to gain any more traction within the conference. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And the people that I talked to late last night share the same opinion. At some point, the Southeastern Conference their perceived need to break away. At some point, break away. You can call it a clean break. You can call it a partial break from the NCAA. But their perceived need to break away is going to supersede any thoughts about a big, large college football playoffs, unfortunately, from my point of view. If you're going to go in your breakaway, if you're going to go in your silo, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. Morehead said it. We're going to have to do this conference by conference. We're all going to have to go into our own silos. And out of that, we do not know what's going to happen. Each conference is going to be a petri dish of experimentation, right? The Big Ten and the SEC might do a collective bargaining agreement within their conference. The Big 12 and the ACC might do it first. We do not know. But it's all going to be siloed. It's all going to be looking different from each other. Nobody trusts each other. Nobody does. It's worse now than ever before. You heard what the comment of the Big Ten athletic director said in Ross Dellinger's article last night. We did a report on it. We went live on it. There is real hard, not only disagreement, but mistrust with each other. The Big Ten and the SEC, I'm going to tell you something. They do not want to lose any of their sovereignty. None. To go in their own silos, they're going to be gaining sovereignty. But they're not willing to give up an inch. The ACC and the Big 12, they were willing to give up some of their sovereignty for the better good, quote unquote. That created a split right down the middle of the Power Four conferences. The SEC and the Big Ten looking for more transformational change in the College Sports Commission versus what the Big 12 and the ACC are looking for created more of a split among the Power Four conferences. The Big 12 and the ACC not willing to sign on the white papers of the Big Ten and the SEC in their battle against the Saving College Sports, the Cody Campbell plan. The Big 12 and the ACC already feeling fed up that the SEC and the Big Ten threatened them before, took more of the playoff distribution money, split the power conferences. More and more cloak and dagger. More and more positioning going on. Phillips knows this. He knows there are currently ACC schools that are having first-party talks, second-party talks, third-party talks, consultants talking to them about a possibility to jump to the P2. There is a real live split among the Power Four conferences. The SEC and the Big Ten, from their perspective, they're done trying to climb up the wall. They're done trying to get all this governance among 68 schools. It's not happening. It's not happening. They can't get any federal government help. Next week, President Morehead is ready. And he's not talking. There is no way on God's green earth is President of Georgia on an island to himself. He's been there for a long time. This is not some newcomer at the president of Georgia. And this is not a Mississippi State. This is not a Vanderbilt. This is not a Rutgers. This is not a Minnesota. This is Georgia. And they are ready to vote on the rules and mechanism to break away. And of course he brought up the Big Ten. Of course he brought up the Big Ten because the Big Ten, they're advancing towards their own breakaway. Now, a lot of people are cheering for this breakaway. A lot of people are cheering for the breakaway. And I completely understand it. I completely understand it. Because people are fed up. This is like their only hope. I'm almost at that point. Even though we've been declaring that this could be happening for months, that we have been on DEFCON 1 for months, that nobody's getting along for months, even though my name was dragged over the coals because I was reporting that exact same thing. And of course, it turned out to be absolutely 100% accurate and true. Even I, who's been trying to keep everybody together, I am ready to pull the damn trigger on a breakaway because nothing else seems to be working. Nothing else seems to be happening. Nobody else has an answer to any of this stuff. It can't go on. These conferences are not even operational anymore. So as Morehead said, conference by conference by conference by conference. What is the impact to the college football playoffs? I think it's going to have to take quite a miracle to get the college football playoff of 24 teams to happen in 2028. It's going to take a miracle. Absolute miracle. It's going to have to take everyone going in their own silos, but the SEC and the Big Ten favoring them, getting favored. And I don't think the ACC and the Big 12 are going to. I think the college football playoff of 24 teams has taken a hit over the last 24 hours because of what is going on. What about conference expansion? We have reported to you that nothing is imminent for the last, how many years? Since Oregon and Washington on August 4th, 2023. Almost every single live show, a lot of positioning going on, a lot of cloak and dagger going on. Ever since the Clemson-Florida State ACC settlement, there's been a massive discussions going on. First party, second party, third party talk. But we have been telling you every single day, nothing is done. Nothing is settled. Nothing is signed, sealed, and delivered. Nothing is imminent. And that remains today. If you look at the situation now, if you look at a stronger possibility, at least here in the very near term, that we're going to be sticking to a 12-team college football playoff format. And hopefully that happens because we do not know how extreme these silos are going to be. But let's just pretend for a moment we go in our silos, but we still maintain the 12-team college football playoffs. If we're sticking to a 12-team college football playoffs and we're going in our silos, a couple of things I want to mention on conference expansion. Number one, if we're sticking to a 12-team college football playoff model, the chances of expansion happening on or before June 1st, 2027, on or before June 1st, 2028 goes down. The chance of anything that happening goes down. Remember, the college football playoff expansion itself was going to be greasing the skids for a larger SEC, for a larger Big Ten. It doesn't mean it definitely is not going to happen, but I think it's going to take. There probably is going to be a pause on that if you stick with the college football playoffs of 12 teams. But here's another something for everybody to be aware of. I talked to a couple of people last night. And I'm going to just say, one of them is you know what? I'm going to skip that. When it comes to the next expansion, you know, we throw around all of these variables, right? One of the main reason why I have been saying every single live show for years, since August 4th, 2023, that nothing was imminent is because we had too many planes in the air, right? They're circling in the air. They haven't landed, they haven't crashed. The Score Act plane, the college football playoff format plane. Now we've got the Cruz Cantwell plane. We've got the Silo plane. We've got all these planes circling around. Nobody was going to expand their conference until they knew what college football, college sports was going to look like in the future. There's all these variables that the SEC has war gamed out. There are all these variables that the Big Ten has war gamed out, right? They've got all different scenarios. Nothing is done. Nothing is settled. That's why I have made it clear when I say stuff, I say it's a prediction, not a report. There is nothing to report on. We can make predictions. We can speculate. We know that there is some communication going on. We reported as much as we could to you all. But there's nothing, there has not been a hot bubble of action. There has been no Colorado Yormark meeting in Chicago on May 9th. None of that has happened. Not yet. There is no Florida State was the Big Ten 19th school. There is no North Carolina is the SEC 17th school. Nothing's been done. Nothing has been settled. There is no wink wink. There is no nod nod. The variable, the one that is growing in importance to the Big Ten and to the Southeastern Conference is trust. We've been talking about how one of the rules of realignment, one of the rules of conference expansion is relationships. It is so vitally important. It's probably more important than ever before. If you are going to go into your own conference, governing by your own conference, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of trust. And people are going to have to follow along. People are going to have to take their punishment. There's got to be consensus building. There's going to be a lot of people that don't think the SEC can pull it off. There's going to be a lot of people that don't think the Big Ten is going to pull it off. There's a lot of people think that the Big 12 can't pull it off. There's a lot of people think that the ACC can't pull it off. If you're going to do this, let's just take the Southeastern Conference in particular. 14 of the schools have been together for a very long time. They're meeting a lot during the season. Now they bring on Texas and Oklahoma. It's been pretty smooth. If they're going to bring on a 17th, if they're going to bring on an 18th, in this world of silos, you better come in hat in hand. You better come in willing to get along. You better be able to come in and keep your ego, check it at the door, or you're not coming in. If that conference, if those 16 presidents, they're not going to have the NCAA looking over your you-know-what. It's going to be the SEC looking over you-know-what. The Big Ten. The Big Ten is a little bit more fractured than the SEC. 18 schools nationwide. A lot of diversity, some commonality to keep the conference together. If you're going to add on a 19th, if you're going to add on a number 20, holy smokes. The Big Ten presidents have got to trust your bleep. If they don't trust your bleep, you've got no chance. None. Having said that, and I know I'm going all over the place, but look, things are just, they're going like this, right? One of the reasons why we're doing a live show every single day, right? I had long conversations last night. Moen, thank you, Moen. Greg is so cold. The Yeti calls him for winter survival advice. I wanted to call Moen last night, but I got too busy. I passed out. The little journal wasn't too happy with. I had a lot of work to do. We did a late show last night. Thank you for the $5 holler, Moen. Thank you so much for the $5 holler. I appreciate it, sir. Again, I'm going to be Greg the Gold this week. this year. Redemption Tour 2026. Thank you, Mohr. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, sir. Okay. Here's the thing, though. So the expansion, the SEC and the Big Ten expansion, I had a couple of long discussions last night with I would again, I don't want to, with people who, if anybody knows, these people know, the Southeastern Conference has a thirst to expand. That thirst has not been quenched. They want to expand. They have not been able to expand. You cannot expand in this environment. It's why we keep saying nothing is imminent. There is a thirst for it. Now, some people might think the Southeastern Conference is just fine. They're looking in the future, ladies and gentlemen. They're looking in the future. They're also looking at Rosemont, Illinois. They think the Big Ten is going to expand. The SEC is going to expand. But I'm telling you, that relationship part, if Morehead doesn't like you, it ain't happening. If they don't trust, they're going in their silos now. Look, every president that votes on your school, internally, they sponsor you when it comes to expansion debates. They're going to be vouching for you. Relationship is incredibly important. Trust is incredibly important. The Big Ten, again, it's more fractious than SEC. One of the good things what's going on in the Big Ten is that Ohio State does hold a lot of the cards. So if the Big Ten can pull the trigger, it's in large part because the Buckeyes have most of the political power within the conference. They've got a lot of political IOUs stacked up, and they're going to use it. So the next time the Big Ten expands, they got to be able to trust you. The Ohio State Buckeyes have got to be able to trust you. Period. And if you are lower on some other metric, it ain't going to matter. You've got to come in and you got to be trusted. So that's what I wanted to say on expansion. One of the long discussions that I had, let me get to the $5 holler super chat, Evil Badger. We're gonna get to. I'm gonna do a roll call. We're gonna get to your comments. I promise you. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. The Evil Badger. Wisconsin has found a new revenue stream. Wisconsin has launched Live at Wisconsin, holding concerts at Camp Randall and the Kohl Center. Thank you, Evil Badger. Now, there is rumors out there that Live at Wisconsin has contacted the fat guy from Minnesota to have me go out there and do PATC renditions, cover songs that we have covered here at Peek Around the Corner. Rumor has it they've given me a call, and we are in negotiations. We are in negotiations. And I've already rejected their Culver's cheeseburgers, but we are in negotiations. Thank you for the $5 holler, Eva Badger. Thank you so much for your generosity. We got Kenneth Maynard, massive super chat. Massive super chat. My goodness. Thank you, Eva Badger. Appreciate it, sir. Kenneth Maynard, don't be surprised if the American and the Pac-12 break away from the rest of the G6 and pull in the best of the rest, just like JMU and UNLV. Pernetti is similar to Petitti in beliefs. P4 would rather deal with G6 conferences instead of 10. I do not know. How do I say this? Thank you for the $20 holler, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you so very much. At this point, I'm not really sure that the SEC and the Big Ten are all that concerned on how many G6 conferences there are, because it does not really affect them. It affects how many schools in the G6 conferences affect the G6 schools, because they got to split that playoff money a little bit more each way. Now, there might be, again, Kenneth Maynard says, don't be surprised if the American and the Pac-12 break away from the rest of the G6. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how that, it would not change the playoff structure. Now, maybe the American and the Pac-12 champions would play in a bowl game. I know there is some particular talks about bowl games being tied into conference championship games in the G6. But anyways, do I think Pernetti is similar to Petitti? Yes, I do. That I do agree with. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Very interesting ideas. Don't be surprised if the American and the Pac-12 break away from the rest of the G6. Thank you for the $20 holler, Kenneth Maynard. ECU Pirate, thank you so very much. And we've got Mohr Simmons. The train has left the station. Great. The silo is going to happen, and then realignment, 26 months, early peak, cloak and dagger, the Seminole win. Mohr Simmons, thank you so very much. You are knighted, cloak and dagger. Here is one of the things, though, Mohr Simmons and everybody else. Rod Nix, Florida State has Michael Alford, the right man at the right time. As Greg has always reminded us, relationships matter. If you are the SEC, for them to expand, they need 12 out of 16 presidents to vote yes. 12 out of 16. You only can lose 4 votes. If the Southeastern Conference is going into their own silo, if they're going to try to govern themselves without separating at least somewhat from the NCAA, now they've all got to look each other in the eye. They've got to create this enforcement arm. They've got to create the rules, build some consensus. They got to do that. They've got to make it work. And if we stay at a 12-team college football playoff format, wow, it is going to be difficult to get the votes to expand the conference. The silo, the SEC going into a silo can quicken expansion. If we were going to go to 2014 playoffs, or if the SEC was going to do their own playoffs. And who knows, that might happen. If the Southeastern Conference was going to go silo and say, we're going to play 12 games, 12 conference games, we're not going to play anybody else, SEC only competition, and if we're going to create our own playoffs, somehow get out of this college football LLC situation, then of course yes, the SEC, I believe, would probably expand pretty quickly. But if we're looking at the elements of going their own silo, but yet playing the other conferences in the playoff, if we're talking about going in your own silo and still having a 12-team college football playoffs, I do not know how you get the votes for expansion. I don't know how the Southeastern Conference would vote for Florida State and Clemson. I think that would be really, really difficult. But again, if we get a 24-team playoff, or if the SEC goes alone with everything, playoffs and everything, then yes, you can see it. Again, going silo, there's a couple of different variations of it. Extreme, a little bit more conservative. Either way, it's a radical action, but one that I think every Power 4 conference is about to do, and probably every G6 conference is about to do. Kenneth Maynard talked about the American and the Pac-12. What the Pac-12? The Pac-12 conference governance is probably going to look different than the American. And how is that going to affect play between the two conferences? Or are they going to be able to figure out common rules amongst each other? Is the Big Ten and the SEC going to find common rules to govern? When they govern and they govern in silo, are the rules going to be all similar? Are they going to be the same? I don't know. Just a bunch of questions. Just a bunch of questions. Thank you. I appreciate it so very much. Morris Simmons, thank you very much. Christopher Hooter, we got a $10 holla. $10 holla. Senator Tommy Tuberville claims 55 votes to reel in transfer rules, but not NIL, not codifying house, and not antitrust. That's apparently the best we will get out of the Congress, so silos are inevitable. Yeah, maybe the transfer rules, but if you don't have if you don't have the whole shebang codified, that boat still isn't going to float, right? So, I did see you send me that, Christopher Hooter. I do appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we're heading that way. And I don't know if you all, I don't know, like, going silos. This is going to be radical, guys. This is going to be something else. The stories that are going to come out of this within the Big Ten, within the SEC, within the ACC, within the Big 12, is the SEC going to be able to settle upon a common rules? Are they going to be able to figure this out? Is the Big Ten going to be able to figure out their rules? How similar are they going to look in their rules? Are they going to be able to trust each other? Is the SEC and the Big Ten going to have the same cap number? Are they going to have a cap number at all? Transfer rules. Are they going to have the same transfer rules? Are they going to have the same eligibility rules? Are the rules going to be so different from each other that the SEC says, nah, they're trying to take advantage. We're only going to play each other. We're only going to play each other. 12 conference games. ESPN, saddle up. We're going to have to give us more money. We're playing 12 conference games. Ooh, that's a lot less slots, primetime slots for ACC in the Big 12. See, it all runs downhill. This is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, but it might be our only option for any of these conferences to be operational. And if the Southeastern Conference goes to 12 conference games because their rules are just a little bit too different from the ACC, Big 12, and the Big 10, then the Big 10 goes to 12 conference games. Then where does Notre Dame sit in all this? Again, that's why when we talk breakaway, when we talk going silo, there is this silo spectrum, right? On the left side of the spectrum, no, we're just going to go silo so we can have some antitrust violation protection. We're going to make our own rules. Come on, everybody, make the same damn rules. Let's just have our own governance. All right, if everybody okay, we all got the same rules, basically. Okay, we can still play each other. We can still have that 12-team college football playoffs. Maybe we can agree to 24-team college football playoffs. But every time in the silo spectrum, it gets knocked a little bit more radical, a little bit more radical, a little bit more radical. The eligibility rule. Is every conference going to agree on 5 years to play 5 years? Are they? Are they? Think about it. I really want to talk about this. Again, I apologize. I'm going to get to your phone calls as soon as I possibly can. As soon as I possibly can. But I want to get to the 5 to play 5. Is everybody going to have that rule? I'm going to talk here just a moment about college hockey. And then I'm going to float it back to college football. All right? College hockey. This 5 years to play 5 years, this age requirement, you can go up to 23 year of age. A lot of these, most, in fact, pretty much all of the college hockey programs do not like that 5 years for 5 years. They do not want any part of that, no age requirement, because a lot of these hockey programs have been bringing in older players from Canada, from everywhere. Now, there's one program out there that is going to benefit most from a five-year plan, eligibility plan, and that is the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, because we don't bring in old players. We bring in the high school players. We're always the youngest team. We always have the best high school talent, but we're always the youngest team. When the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers play the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs, Duluth is always 2.5 years older than we are per player. So they have the advantage. But the University of Minnesota is not going to change their ways. What I'm saying is most hockey programs want the older players because they're better. We see it in college football. The older teams, the older rosters, they seem to do better. What if the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten does a 5 years to play 5 years? But then the Big 12 and the ACC said, nah, we're going to let our players be a little bit older. There's going to be some exceptions in our eligibility rules. Well, then you can see the SEC and the Big Ten say, we're only going to play each other, right? Okay, let's say that the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12 all agree to have the 5 years to play 5 years. Let's say all the Power 4 conferences in their own silos agree to the same basic rules. All right? But what if Kenneth Mainer's The American, what if the Pac-12, what if the Mountain West Conference, the Conference USA, the MAC, what if all the G6 conferences say, well, there should be some room for acceptance, for some waivers, for maybe we, the G6 conferences, can be the home of the 6-year player. Maybe we can be the home of waivers, injury waivers, exceptions, red shirts, blah, blah, blah. And maybe the G6 schools start getting some of the older players. There's not going to be too many of them, but there's going to be some. I'm just saying, there is so many ways to split this, to talk about this. There is so much at stake. College football mafia, holy smokes. Nathan Brown, Mowing After Dark, The Wild Youth, Daniel Gygax, Rock and Rant, Becky Go Husky, Sergeant Pickles, all of them. We were always going to be here. The NCAA is DOA. CFP gave themselves the right to create new governance last year. I would be shocked if it wasn't A4. Thank you for becoming a member. Once again, 29 months. 29 months. I don't think there's going to be... I would be shocked if there is an A4 governance. We already have an A4 governance. Somewhat. But there is a huge difference between, and I'm going to go through them again. I mean, the Cruz and Cantwell bill, the Big 12 and the AC support it. The Big 10 and the SEC are not going to support it. The Saving College Sports Cody Plan, the white paper that was created that the SEC and the Big 10 had drawn up for them, they signed it. They asked the Big 12 and the ACC to sign it. They said no. The reforms that the College Sports Commission that the Big 10 and the SEC wants to make, Yormark and Phillips is pushing back on that. I don't think we're having an A4. I think we're well beyond that. I think it's SEC governance. It's Big 10 governance. It's going to be ACC governance. It's going to be Big 12 governance. The ties that bind the A4 are looser than ever. They're about to shred. They're about to... You know, we have talked ourselves and College Football Mafia and a whole lot of college football YouTube channels out there have spent a lot of time talking about the potential separation between G6 and the Power 4 conferences. And then we spent a lot of time talking about, well, you know, there is a possibility, let's speculate on it, that the top half of the Big 10 and the top half of the SEC leaves the bottom half of the Big 10 and the bottom half of the SEC. We spent a lot of time talking about that. Where there is this other one where the SEC and the Big 10 says bye to the Big 12 and the ACC. That there is a wall, a consolidation wall that separates those four power conferences. If you read Ross Dellinger's article last night, that Big 10 athletic director saying, we knew that 350 Division I schools was too much to manage. We knew that 130 plus FBS schools were too much to manage. But it's looking like there's 65 Power 4 conference schools. That is going to be too much to manage. Too much to govern. So I think the SEC wants to create their own rules. And it's going to be up to the Big 12 and the ACC to either take those rules and take them as their own or differ a little bit, whatever. It's going to be their decision. But if they're too separate from the SEC, the Southeastern Conference might not want to play football with you no more. And that's the same with the Big 10. Thank you, Nathan Brown, College Football Mafia. Great YouTube channel. Go check it out anytime you get a chance. The College Football Mafia. We've got Noah Berman in the house. Super chat. I'm running out of zero sugar Coke, guys. I'm running out. Somebody's got to pick me up some zero sugar Coke. Make it cherry this time. We got no. We've got Kenneth. No, we do got Noah Berman. I just know Greg is going to announce Utah taking 1/3 share of the Big Ten in 3 months. Thank you for the $5 holler, Mr. Berman. I appreciate it. Utah is a Big Ten candidate. We do not have them on the first tier, but they are a Big Ten candidate. I'm going to go ahead and bet against that's going to happen in 3 months. Especially Utah, because, again, remember, if I was a Utah Ute, and if I was a Kansas Jayhawk, if I was a fan, an administrator who wanted to get to the Big Ten, who wanted to get to the SEC, I would pray for rain. I would pray for rain. In other words, I would want the game to get rained out. Let's play another day. I would want a delay. I think if I was Utah and Kansas, I would want whatever happens in the next wave of expansion, the next wave of realignment, and the next wave of consolidation, I would want that calendar to go through a few pages before it happened. And that could be what's happening here. But the sooner it happens, I think it's not good news for Kansas and Utah. The more it gets delayed, I think better off for Kansas and Utah. That is my take on it. Just my take on it. Speculation, not a report. Thank you, Noah Berman. Thank you for the $5 holler. We've got Kenneth Maynor, $10 holler. Imagine the SEC going full silo. Could happen. Shutting the Big Ten from the Southeast completely. I don't think that's possible. Adding UNC, Duke, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech, and do 2 12-team conferences within the SEC itself. I think... Thank you for the $10 holla, Kenneth Maynor. I do think SEC going full silo, and that's a good term to say the extreme silo, full silo. That could happen. I don't think right away, but we could eventually land there. Shutting out the Big Ten from most of the Southeast, I would agree with, but I don't think it's possible completely. I do not see... the SEC expanding with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 schools, 2 of them being in Virginia, having 3 Florida schools, having 2 South Carolina schools, having 2 Georgia schools, having 2. That's not enough. I think that's just too much double dipping, triple dipping when it comes to the state of Florida. But I understand what your point is, Kenneth Maynor. If the Southeastern Conference goes full silo. Now look, Kenneth Maynor brings up a very good point in his own way. We got to remember this. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor. Thank you so very much for your $10 holler. Look, and I'm so appreciated. I appreciate this super chat so much. That's why I love you guys. You come from all different directions. Here is the uncharted waters situation, okay? If the Southeastern Conference goes full silo, either right away or we finally get there because of the battles between the Big Ten and the SEC, the battles between the ACC and the SEC, the battles between the Big 12 and the SEC. If the SEC goes full silo, they're only looking out for themselves. I know a lot of you are saying that they already do that, but I mean all their decisions are gonna be totally ruthless aggression. I mean, ruthless aggression. Like, they're going to be eating from out their own plate. They're going to have to market all their events. They're gonna want to expand internationally, Middle East. I just don't think that combination is possible. But I do agree with Kenneth Maynard on the aggressiveness if the Southeastern Conference goes full silo. That's what I was saying. If the Southeastern Conference goes silo, and it's not that full silo, and if we stick to a 12-team college football playoff format, and there's not going to be an SEC-only competition, there's not going to be an SEC-only playoffs, man, it's hard to see the SEC expanding anytime soon. But if the Southeastern Conference goes full silo, the doors are going to be ripped off its hinges when it comes to the next wave of expansion. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you for the $10 holler. I very much appreciate it. We've got Mohr After Dark, and I know he's going to say something nice about me. I know it. I know it. I know. Oh! It's criminal that they don't sell Cherry Coke Zero in a 24-pack. Army of 24. Yeah, Mohr. Mohr, let's go. Let's go, Mohr. You know what? I'm going to give Mohr his very first applaud, because I got to tell you, most of the super chats, while I do appreciate the generosity, while I do appreciate the kindness, most of his super chats go against Greg the Goal, but this time, Army of 24, thank you, Mohr, and I appreciate it. Mohr, I got to give you a call sometime today. I am so busy, but we got to talk. We have to talk. Mama Duck Clemson Tiger. Greg, how does one get a coffee cup like yours? We used to sell these. We used to sell a bunch of items. And a lot of these were sold. Cloak and Dagger. This is our logo for our episodes that we put out almost every day. We sold shirts and all that. I got to tell you, though, it went really smooth. A lot of people bought the items. It was great. But doing the taxes on that was terrible. We used a company. I spent more time trying to figure out the taxes. It was. Now, I got to tell you, there is a lot of people, especially loved ones and family, that want me to get this going again. So I'm going to take it in serious consideration that we open it up again. We get the coffee cups, we get the trucker hats, we get the shirts out there with new stuff on them. I'm going to seriously consider it. One is because we are getting so much support from all of you. Our programs are just flying. The subscriber base is, whatever reason, is flying. So it's almost, I feel like I owe that, right? So let me, I know I had a website. I shut that down. Maybe I figure out a different company, but that company did a great job with printing and with delivery. They just did not give me the information to do my taxes. I had them. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I'm going to work on that, Mama Duck. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to try to make it possible. That was like 2 years ago now, Greg. I know. I'll work on it. I will work on it. Okay. Thank you, Mohr After Dark. Okay, let's get the phone lines open. But before, we got a lot of new people coming on in here. This is a early show that we're doing because of the breaking news. Hold on one second. I keep screwing this up. Matt Hayes on his X account, USA Today, Georgia President Morehead with some groundbreaking public comments. It happened a couple of hours ago on state of college football to reporters after the athletic board meeting. If we don't get federal legislation, in my opinion, we're going to have to do this conference by conference because we can't allow the Wild West to continue any longer. I'm prepared next week in Destin to be ready to vote on creating an SEC mechanism. SEC rules that we have to do if Congress isn't going to act like they should. We just cannot continue down this current path. We have waited months after months for Congress to act, and it hasn't occurred. So I just want to make it clear, according to On3's report, this is voting on a breakaway is not on the agenda. I think what Morehead is saying is, I'm prepared to vote for a certain slate of rules, for a mechanism. As a message to everybody, we are ready to go to a breakaway if we're not going to get congressional action, which they're not. I think this is setting the table for a breakaway. Now, maybe I'm going to end up being wrong because things happen. Things are quickening so much here. I do not think they're going to vote for a breakaway in Destin, Florida. I could be wrong. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But it's still massive news because Morehead is going to want to vote for a slate of rules or some sort of outline of this is what we're going to have to do if we break away. He wants to shake it up. He wants to send a message. He believes these conferences are not operational anymore. That's how bad it's gotten. And nobody has another solution. Nobody has an option. Before I get to your phone calls, for those who want a collective bargaining agreement, I think this is like, at this point, I think this is our only way to get a collective bargaining agreement per conference, per sport. The SEC, and I don't know if it's going to start with the Southeastern Conference. I don't know if it's going to start with anybody. But if the Southeastern Conference, among their football players, if they want to make sure they got protection, somehow they let some organization in. They're probably not going to allow a union for political reason, for state politic reason, for state policy reason, where public employees can't be unionized in some of those states. But some sort of representation for labor to get in some sort of agreement with the SEC. Maybe they do that with football and basketball. Maybe it happens in the Big Ten. Maybe it happens in the ACC. Maybe it happens in the Big 12. Per conference, per the two revenue sports. I mean, it's a long shot, but now it's at least a long shot. It was never going to happen with 68 schools under the same CBA, 138 schools under it's just not going to happen. We can't even agree. We can't even agree on the college football playoff format. So for those who support a CBA, maybe this is the only way. Maybe some conference is going to lurch out and get that done. And maybe the others will follow because it becomes so popular. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I forgot about the UNC Spotlight. Preston from Greensboro, thank you so very much. We got to talk about the Spotlight, the North Carolina Tar Heels, and then we will get to the phone calls. Spotlight. Whoa. That's the wrong one. That is the wrong one. Billy Edwards, quarterback transfer from Wisconsin, started his career at Maryland. Career stats, 4 years, 3,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He's had a battle injuries in his career. 62.1 completion percentage, 126.8 quarterback ranking. The North Carolina quarterback battle is probably the most interesting battle out there. You've got Billy Edwards, who has shown that he's pretty good. Right? Pretty good. Decent, at least. Now, he was the quarterback of Maryland. He went against the Golden Gophers, and he absolutely got picked on. A bunch of interceptions. He's had some brutal games, but at times he's looked pretty good. He brought Maryland back to beat USC 29-28 a couple of years ago. I think that was the score. Maybe not. But he brought Maryland back to win that game by one late against USC, maybe 32-31, something like that. Billy Edwards. But you know what? They got another quarterback from Western Carolina, Teron Dickens. 3,500 yards passing, 38 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Holy smokes. 74.2 completion percentage, 188.2 quarterback rankings. That is absolutely ridiculous. An unbelievable set of stats for Teron Dickens. Unbelievable. But again, it was Western Carolina FCS. Now, again, does he take QB1 from Billy Edwards? I don't know. I think Billy Edwards is the chalk right now. Teron Dickens. There is a third quarterback at North Carolina, and I'm not even going to put him up on the graphics. Travis Burgess. He's the future in Chapel Hill. He's going to be right there with Dickens and Edwards. So you got Edwards, Dickens, Travis Burgess, a 4-star high school, very elite quarterback, a lot of promise. So the quarterback battle in Chapel Hill going to be very, very interesting. This is going to be RB1 for the Tar Heels. Demond June, 464 yards rushing, 5.5 average per rush, 2 rushing touchdowns, 17 receptions, 159 yards receiving, 9.4 average, 1 receiving touchdown. This guy showed some juice last year. Demond June, now he's going to be the full-time RB1. And we all know who's going to be wide receiver number 1 at Chapel Hill. Jordan Shipp came on big time. 60 receptions, 671 yards receiving, 6 receiving touchdowns. So, June, Shipp, Dickens, Edwards. Abu Jude, defensive lineman, big season last year. McCart Abu Jude, 24 solo tackles, 47 combination tackles, 12 tackle for losses, 10.5 sacks. Second team All-CC. Abu Jude is coming back at Chapel Hill. Monster defensive end. A lot of hope that he can create havoc in 2026. This is North Carolina's football schedule. North Carolina, TCU, Dublin, Ireland. Big game right out of the gate. East Tennessee. Clemson, the first ACC game for North Carolina at Clemson. Then they play home against Notre Dame. On the road against Pittsburgh. On the road against Duke. At home against Syracuse. At home against the Miami Hurricanes. On the road against the UConn Huskies. At home against Louisville. On the road, Virginia. And then the rival game, North Carolina State. Can Bill Belichick survive in 2026? Is he going to be the head coach of North Carolina at the beginning of the 2027 season? Our way too early order of finish prediction for the ACC conference. We do not have North Carolina in the top 8. Where do we have the Tar Heels? 14. 14! 14, ladies and gentlemen. Are we being too brutal on the Tar Heels? Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. Online, very questionable. Can Bobby Paterno make some magic, the new offensive coordinator? My goodness. I don't have much hope. I do not have much hope. I got to be honest. I do not have much hope. The quarterback battle situation is going to be very interesting to watch. Abu Jude is a great player. Jordan Shipp is probably going to have a big season. He's probably going to have a bigger. Last year, Gio Lopez in the passing game, Jordan Shipp carried that offense. So this year, I think he's probably going to have a monster year. Monster year. But anyways, that is your North Carolina Tar Heel Spotlight. I think, what is it? This is the beginning of the Spotlight Series calendar. Miami was the first team we did. Those are the dates. So if you missed your Spotlight on your favorite team, go to the live show on the date that you see here, and you can watch the Spotlight. Here is the next 12 teams that we did the Spotlight for. And then here we are. North Carolina was team number 32. Team number 32. All right, now we're going to go to the phone calls here. Going to the phone calls again. I do want to thank. I got a lot of messages coming in here. I'm going to have to check. Kenneth Maynard, North Carolina goes 6-6. 6-6. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Mohr Simmons, Eva Badger, Mowing After Dark, Kenneth Maynard, Christopher Hooter, the College Football Mafia, Nathan Brown, Noah Berman, again, for your donations, for your generosity to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Thank you very much. When you give us a call here at 763-260-1333, the floor is yours. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. You do not have to talk about what we've been talking about here on the live program. You give us a call, the floor is yours. Super chat, the floor is yours. The other comments, I will pick them and choose them depending on if it's relevance to what we're talking about here, or if they're interesting, or if they're entertaining, and all of that matter. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, super chat. What does he think about the Spotlight? Tough schedule, no question about it. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, thanks for the Spotlight. Enjoy them. Heel's going to have a lot break their way to even get the 500 with that schedule. I agree. I wish I had a little bit more time to talk about this schedule. Let's just take another look at it. They played Miami, right? They play Notre Dame. They play Clemson. They play Louisville. They play Virginia. They play North Carolina State, of course. They start that season internationally against TCU. Woo! There's just a lot of... You know what? We're going to have to wait to see if... the Billy Edwards... He's serviceable, right? He does make some magic happen. He's a little bit loosey-goosey. He gets injured. He's very inconsistent. But he can rise up to the level that you need once in a while. But the other guys, the other two wild cards, who knows? Maybe one of them clicks. Maybe one of them becomes the Trinidad Chambliss of 2026 in the ACC conference. And if that happens, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? North Carolina could surprise. The phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Give us a call.
From
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours.
Well, Greg, enjoying the program?
I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate all you coming on in, even though we came on quite early today. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Hooter.
Well, did you hear Coach Orgeron was hired on as some sort of assistant at LSU?
Yes. Lane Kiffin, Orgeron, back in the saddle at LSU. What do you think? Are you excited about this?
I think it's interesting. I think they're good friends. I don't expect there'll be an issue.
Okay.
They coached together for years. Yeah, he was with Kiffin at Tennessee, I think, and then he went with Kiffin to USC, and they've been buddies all along. So I don't anticipate they'll.
I saw somebody wrote the Kiffin Orgeron combination is either going to lead LSU to 4 national titles or prison time for both of those guys, one or the other. One of the things are going to happen. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, so I want to make sure you knew that. If you get your hats and your shirts and all that going again,
yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of bookkeeping, yeah.
Well, at least with the company that we were using,
yeah,
it's a lot of bookkeeping. And I'm not, I am the original Minnesota moron. I am not I'm not the sharpest bulb in the refrigerator. I just happen to know where every refrigerator is and every building I go into. So for me to have all these numbers, all these sheets of paper, trying to figure out revenue and costs and all that stuff, it was incredibly difficult. So when you
maybe they'll do all that for you. Huh? Maybe they'll just do all that for you. Maybe they'll just do all that for you for a fee. Here's your money.
Well, and that's another thing. They were terrible to get a hold of. But now that I got time, now that I'm not the primary caretaker, now that I'm investing more and more time in this program, and that's why we're growing so aggressively lately because of you guys. Maybe I will take another look and try to get these products up and running, try to get this website up and running again, because a lot of people love the products. And we had no complaints on the products. So, yeah.
Now, did you have them like in your garage or the company?
No, the printing company, it was, now I come from a commercial print background.
Okay.
That's where I made my living. So we call this print on demand. We used to call it variable printing. Whatever. It's called a whole bunch of different things. But you put an order in, and your order, when you made the order off our website, it was attached to their website, and then the order would come in for the print shop to print the cup, to print a T-shirt. We had a lot of different options for you to pick from, and your address, you would put the address in there and it would get shipped off. So I would not get involved unless you come to me and say, I did not get my product. Then I'll go check to see if it's back ordered. A lot of times it wasn't. Like 99% of the time. Usually it was like a delivery error, right? So it went really, everything went smooth. Basically everything went real smooth when we did this, except for the bookkeeping was a It was, and I've heard from other YouTube channel people, you don't see a lot of college football YouTube channels do merchandise. At least in the way we did it, because of the bookkeeping problem. So.
Well, maybe there's a market. See, maybe we just stumbled on something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, all right. Well, get the mugs on there. I'll order a mug and a hat, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuberville. Yep. So this is what he said. He has 55 or 56 votes. He's confident he'll get 60. He says, I don't care how much money they make. They can make all the money in the world. I don't worry about that. So he's not for limiting NIL. He goes, this is not about antitrust, so the commissioners are not going to be happy. So it's not about that either. It's simply about 5 for 5. You go back to the old transfer rules. You get one transfer unless you graduate, and then you get another. You can, if you're a grad student or whatever, you can graduate then if you graduate. That doesn't count against you. You can do that still, but you could do that back then too, right? In the old days.
Yeah.
So that's all he said it is. So, and he thinks he can get that passed, but that doesn't really help anybody. I mean, it does bring some sanity to transfer rules, but it's not what they need. So, for better or worse, I do think we're going silos. And I'm not so sure the number of playoff games matters, because it's also about Olympic sports.
What was that, sir?
I'm not sure the number of playoff games matter, because it's also about Olympic sports.
Yeah.
So, I could see they stay at 12, but they expand anyway. No, I do think it helps. It encourages expansion to 16 or 20 or whatever, but I'm not so sure that that's a deal breaker. Anyway, this is not good. None of this is good.
Yeah.
But apparently it's necessary.
Yep. We do have a little bit of a breaking news here, Christopher Hooter. Do you want to stay on the line?
No, I'll let you go. Okay. I'll just give you go Tigers.
Okay.
Go Tigers.
All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, sir. Christopher Hooter, thank you very much. I've taken the phone out the hook for a moment. I've taken the phone out the hook. I've taken the phone out the hook. I've taken the phone out the hook. For those who wanted the full SEC silo, I've got good news and bad news. For those who do not want the SEC full silo, I got good news and bad news. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. My, oh my. From the New York Times, Morehead said he didn't know if there would be a vote on any of the non-CFP expansion topics next week in Destin, but expects there to be robust discussion. The hope is that the SEC would take the lead, then other conferences would follow, and they would all end up in a better spot than the current situation. But if not, and if there is no agreement on a playoff format, could the Southeastern Conference just pull away and run its own postseason? It probably could not happen until after the 2031-32 football season, since the current college football playoff contract runs through then. But Morehead likes the idea. I think that would be fantastic, Morehead said. I can't imagine the ratings if that happened. Georgia and Alabama SEC championship last year had ratings through the roof. Imagine if that had been for the national championship. Just imagine if that would have been a night. Holy smokes! I think our fan base is strong across the country. I think we'd have tremendous interest in a situation of that nature. But again, I'm going to be listening to the commissioner.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement.
Well, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. As we have mentioned here at Peek Around the Corner, that current college football playoff contract, that LLC, is going to be difficult to get out of that. That is why I believe the G6 is going to have access, and they're not going to pull away that access until after the 31-32 football season. That's why we're probably not going to get that full silo, SEC silo. But it could almost get the full silo. I mean, if this is Morehead's interpretation of the rest of the country, you can see that Morehead would be interested, and other presidents, of a only SEC competition in football. But Morehead believes that to run their own postseason would be fantastic because of the ratings. Can you imagine if the Georgia-Alabama SEC championship rating, if that was the championship game? Imagine if Georgia and Alabama would have been for the national championship. Well, my first question for you, Morehead, can you imagine a national championship game not having the best team in the championship game, which was Indiana and Miami? We're in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We're President Georgia, a president from Georgia, Morehead. An SEC owned postseason is fantastic. Let me hold on. Time out. I'm calling a timeout. That was an incredibly informative piece of information that President Morehead said. Not because the SEC is truly looking at having their own postseason right now. I mean, maybe they probably talked about it. They probably looked at it. It's going to be difficult to pull off because they've got so many hurdles. They're not going to do that right away if they do it. And again, you have the College Football LLC. It's going to be difficult. But that's not why that was so informative. If you got the president of Georgia, Edward the Auburn Tiger, Mohr Simmons, Kenneth Maynard, John Grove, Ron Nix, Karan Shakar, listen to the fat guy from Minnesota for just 1 second. If you got the president of Georgia, Morehead, who's been spearheading all this, if he's talking about the SEC postseason being fantastic, can you imagine the blah, then you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that if the SEC and the SEC, if they're talking about this silo and what it's going to look like at the beginning, I'm talking about the beginning, not in 31, 32. I'm talking about right now in 2027, the year after 2026. If Morehead is saying an SEC only run postseason would be fantastic, look at the ratings. We collect all that money, which is true. Then you know that Morehead, you know deep down in your college football soul that he's going to be spouting for SEC only football competition in 27, 28, the earliest that they can make it happen. You don't talk about a SEC only postseason that favorable and not be for an SEC only competition in the regular season in 2027. So this is where, I mean, it's likely that not everybody in the SEC is going to agree with Morehead, right? We're talking about this silo spectrum, right? A little bit of silo, growing silo, or the extreme silo that Morehead favors. Morehead favors the extreme silo. Hello, Notre Dame, hello. You still think the Southeastern Conference is running cover for you? You got the president Morehead going out saying this would be fantastic. Look at the ratings. It doesn't matter if we don't have the two best teams. It doesn't matter if we don't have Miami. That's not the point. The point is there's the ratings. Look at our ratings. Look at the ratings we would get. You know, part of the not at least some of it was because the rest of the nation had interest in what was going to happen to Georgia and Alabama via how they would be placed in the national playoffs. So, the largest voice who has publicly commented on this a couple of times, who has come out this morning, and that's why we're having the breaking news show about how the Southeastern Conference, that he's ready to vote on a mechanism in the rules of the governance of the Southeastern Conference. I do not think it means that the Southeastern Conference is going to vote on a breakaway in Destin, Florida, but they're going to send a message. The loudest voice in the room, probably the most important voice in the room, also think it would be fantastic of an SEC only postseason. That is where not the entire Southeastern Conference, but that is where some of the most important voices of the Southeastern Conference sit. And if that were to happen, if we're talking the extreme silo, then we're talking about the ruthless, aggressive SEC when it comes to expansion. Then that would uncork a lot of stuff. And selfishly speaking, that is probably what Florida State and Clemson folks are hoping. And then that would ignite what the Big Ten would do. when it comes to Miami, another Southeastern entity, at least another one, and Notre Dame. I mean, wow. Morehead, I did not think in public on May 21st that he would come out and say this would be fantastic. SEC, if that SEC championship game was for the national championship game in an SEC only postseason. Wow. Wow. Now we're going to get to phone calls. Now we're going to get serious. Again, super chats, supersede other comments. We'll put them up there and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Phone calls, you have the floor. The phone lines are now open, 763-260-1333. It did not matter that Indiana and Miami had a fantastic championship game. Miami was just brilliant at the end of the season. That doesn't matter. The ratings, it's the ratings.
From
Nathan Ballmer Brown.
I'm sorry, who is this again?
Nathan Ballmer
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hey, Nathan, my head. Look, you know what's inside my head right now, Nathan? Do you know what I'm hearing? Wah, 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 wah. So I don't understand anything I'm reading or listening. Nathan Brown, thank you, my friend, for calling. The floor is absolutely yours.
I just want to say first, Greg, it's great to have you live on these things while the rest of us are, living life.
Yeah.
And going to work every day. I appreciate you doing this for us all.
Woo!
This SEC stuff is a fever dream. I know you and I have this talk all the time. I think the silo thing it's all threats, and at the end of the day, they're all going to have to be together. I don't see even the Big Ten SEC thing as likely. I think there's not enough teams involved there, and it's funny. It's the Georgia president saying two things that are polar opposite. We can't do it, and yet if we did, it would be the best thing ever. I think 99% of this crap, they understand that social media has a huge effect, reaches millions and millions of people every day, and they drop these things, just like the Big Ten did yesterday, over and over and over again. The SEC doesn't want to be even a foot behind the Big Ten, so they're doing the exact same thing. Even though this isn't even their week, right? It's supposed to be, next week for the SEC? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I think these were all fun things for us to talk about, and obviously we can talk about the details. But at the end of the day, just like the SCORE Act, that was never going to be passed. Without giving athletes representation, there's absolutely no way that you're going to get a contract for any of the price controls people want to institute. The system is completely ass broke. And just today, I don't know if you saw it in your live show, probably not, but Kansas today reported there's a vote of no confidence in the president, and they're currently 17 million, I think, in the red, and they're taking general funds to pay athletes revenue share. So the entire system's broken. And to imagine that a single conference or even two conferences break apart and do their own thing without everybody else, everybody just slow down. There's not enough money to even get from day to day, let alone imagining these major, I'm just calling them fever dreams, because at the end of the day, I think that's where we're at.
I appreciate it, Nathan. I appreciate you calling, and I love you, brother. I do not think that these are idle threats at all. I think these are as real. I have been Paul Revere without the horse, because there is no horse strong enough that can keep me in the saddle. But,
okay.
but this is real. look, they've tried this governance with everybody. They've tried trying to get the Congress involved. That did not work. The SCORE Act
Yeah, but
did
that's
not work.
138 schools, Greg. That's 138 schools. We're talking about just the A4. The A4 can do its own thing.
But the A4 completely disagrees with each other. The A4 disagrees with each other, though.
They're two different. So I think we're talking about across each other. We're talking about two different things. The NCAA SCORE Act, what is it? The conference or the commission? You know, I can't remember the acronym anymore.
Yeah.
That was for the 138 schools. That was for everybody. The NCAA does rules, but doesn't govern college football. College football governs itself. It's got its own organization. And last year, the A4 gave itself the power to do its own governance. So I think it's important that we actually say what it is instead of making declarations. The 138 is not practical.
Okay. Now,
the A4 is practical.
Okay. Now, the Cruz and Cantwell bill, that's not finished yet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who supports that? The Big 12 and the ACC.
I don't think it matters. I don't think any of that legislation gets passed.
Okay. Here's the problem. There needs to be an option other than a silo, or they're going to go silo. That's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. What's the other option?
I think it's an A4 silo is what we should be talking about.
An A4 silo has the market power. It does. It would not protect you from. It would not protect you from antitrust violation protection. It would not provide any of that. A4 would have market power. The Ivy League that was just handed down, where they won their court case because it's a conference, it's a single conference. So they were, according to the judge, were able to make their own rules. The Alston case, conferences, they have the authority to make their own rules, not an association of conferences. A single conference does not have market power. So that's why everyone is thinking about going in their own silo. It is real. That threat is real because there is no other option right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's zero sum, I guess, like what you're describing. So, I mean, obviously the future will come true no matter what you and I talk about. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, people need to pay attention to is what is the most practicable number? What is the most practical number of schools to get together to have enough national political power to withstand challenges against the breakaway that can go in and do their own thing? And I don't think it's the P2, and I don't think it's 138 schools. I think it's somewhere in the middle, and it just happens to be 68 or 69 is more than half of the current 138. So, and that gets you more than half the senators, which is really what we're talking about if we're talking about legislation. So,
even Petiti, who is pro-legislation, said that at some point we're going to have to stop with trying to get the legislation.
I think legislation's dead. Yeah, I agree with that.
Now their theory might be absolutely incorrect, but their theory is that if we're not going to get legislation, the best thing we can do now to get some protection so we can actually make rules and have an enforcement and have some antitrust protection is to do it all within our own conference. And I have been asking for months, especially in the last couple of weeks, what is the other option? If the SCORE Act doesn't pass, if the Cruz and Cantwell is going to be not supported by the SEC and the Big Ten, and it is not, then what is the other option? There is none.
Yeah, there is. You walk away from the NCAA.
Well, that's what oh, you're talking about what? Okay. So you're talking about walking away from the NCAA as an A4 world, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, but I don't think that solves the issue of protecting yourself from antitrust violations. I think go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying that A4, and again, there's a lot of disagreement within the A4, but if that A4 broke away together, I don't think that solves any other governance issue in regards to the courts. Because that would have market power. They would not have protection. It's not a single conference making their own rules.
Yeah, but if you create a brand new organization, you could negotiate your own protections from antitrust. You could negotiate with the athletes. If you walk away from the NCAA, you drop that baggage, Greg.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You just do football. You just do 68 or whatever that number is, and you create a completely new organization.
Okay.
You have the opportunity to then build in those protections that you are so good about bringing up over and over again.
Okay, so
I think that's something that is simply not.
What you're thinking is and I would agree with you in theory. You would have this A4 break away from the NCAA and have negotiations between labor and this new organization, correct?
Yeah.
And that would give you protections, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That in theory, all that works, except for why would any SEC labor want to be in the same CBA as Big 12 labor?
Well, as long as everybody's, if we're living in a quote unquote uncapped world already because of MMR, if you negotiate with the players, and you know this because you know union stuff, if you negotiate with the athletes, you would then build in those, whether they're price caps or school caps, whatever, or no caps, whatever that would be. It would be negotiated with the athletes themselves. It would be negotiated with the people that would be doing the actual work. And it wouldn't be carrying into this old baggage that is associated with national, which is the NCAA. If you're restarting, you're building a new company, you get to build your own rules and build in those protections. I know this. You know that I interview states, attorneys general, and other legal people all the time. And when I've asked them about this, they're like, if you build a new thing, you can build in and negotiate all of those controls. I'm not saying that the SEC wouldn't be able to spend more than the Big 12. I'm not saying that. It would all be negotiated. What I'm saying is the SEC, the Big 10, and the ACC and the Big 12, or a third conference, best of the rest, if the Big 12 and ACC don't go in total, between those two types of new organizations, new things, that all can be negotiated. I think where people get caught up is we're still talking about, again, you and I are on the same page with the college football playoff 24. This idea that the old legacy season means nothing and, whoa, it won't be a real national championship, all that garbage, watered down playoff, it's all BS. Because at the end of the day, whether we want to admit it or not, and this is where I'll leave you, Greg, it is a professionalized world. I don't care how you want to talk about it or try to mitigate it. At the end of the day, these kids are making more money than most governors in their own state, multiple times over. And as long as we're doing stuff like that, we all need to put it in the back of our minds that the student-athlete, it's now athlete-student. So I'll leave you with that, Greg. As always, fantastic show. Thanks for hearing me out. And
you got it.
I'm the proponent of the I don't know what you want to call it now, but that 68 new company, new rules, new negotiations, and new caps, whatever you want to build in. Appreciate you. We'll
Got it.
talk to you later.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, Nathan Brown. Nathan Brown has put a lot of time thinking about this. He has had a lot of good interviews. Go check out College Football Mafia Show. Hi, Isabel. Thank you for watching the show. Isabel I gotta play the mariachi. I'm gonna get back. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Shoot. Hello, who's this?
This is Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger. Can you hold on for just a minute here? I got to play some
sure
mariachi
can,
music for my wife and her friend
You
Isabel.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Mariachi music. Thank you for the 134 people who are watching. I do appreciate it. This is the music that we play when we do our watch parties when it's a close game in the middle of the third quarter during the season. Come join us during the watch party. PATC. Let's go. Okay, Isabel, thank you, Maria, for joining us. I do appreciate it. I'm sorry, honey, we're awfully busy. We're talking about big breaking news. Before we get to Edward the Auburn Tiger, I just want to, Nathan Brown and I going back and forth at it. Here's I don't think you can have a collective bargaining agreement with 68 schools. It's going to be difficult enough even to get it done within the Big Ten or the SEC. I think there is too much wide disparity, too much political differences, too much regional differences, but there's too much of a resource difference. I think anybody representing the SEC labor should not be representing Big 12 labor or ACC labor, because SEC labor makes more money. The conference makes more money, and they're going to make, and the disparity is going to grow. Like, if anybody represents SEC football, they're representing Big 12 and ACC football. That representation should be fired immediately. This is not like the NFL and the NBA where they all have the same media money, right? It's not like that. You can create a cap. There might be a cap created. Most likely, look, if you go under a CBA, like the NBA and the NFL, there ain't no big NIL. There is some big NIL money, but most of those name, image, and likeness money, it's low. It's because they do not want to have an end around their player contracts. They do not want to have an end around the cap. If you go look at Khalil Leonard and what's going on with the Los Angeles Clippers, if you have a CBA, a lot of that NIL money is gone. Not all of it, but a lot of the big ones are gone because they do not want fake NIL money in a CBA league. That gets negotiated out. So having a 68-team CBA in football and basketball, when these schools are getting different, when they have different revenue buckets, I think we're way. I don't even think that's possible. I really don't think that's possible. Especially when you've got student athletes. These are students. When you have states that do not allow public employees to be unionized. There's so many differences. I think it's going to be difficult enough for the Big Ten to get it done, for the SEC to get it done, for the Big 12 to get it done. And I don't think, and I happen to think that the silo thing, and everybody in PATC country, this is a serious, this is not hot air. This has been serious for a long time. Anyways, Edward the Auburn Tiger, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Hello, Greg. Hey, another great show. Love the breaking news. And listen, we all love.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep. You kind of went away there for a second.
Okay, sorry about that. I said another great show. We appreciate all that you do. And listen, we all love Nathan and what he does. He does a great job, and we know he's passionate about the things he does. But I can tell you, Greg, the SEC is really out on the rest of the country in terms of planning and doing things with. I mean, the SEC is not going to be a part of something like that. I mean, in theory, it sounds good. The Power Four, establishing contracts, negotiations with players, but the SEC just not going to do that. So I don't think we're going to have to worry about if it's possible or not. Greg, it's an exciting time for the SEC fan base. And the reason why I say that, I mean, the AD of Georgia, it's like he knows something without saying something. He knows that the SEC has the brands, has the support, has the fans, has the notoriety. We have the culture. We have everything in the SEC football, in the SEC sports. They know, our presidents know that the universities in the Southeastern Conference are exploding. I mean, people are moving from the west to the south. People are moving from the north to the south. And if you fast track this 100 years out, Greg, our product at the SEC is trending very, very positively. I mean, it is exploding down here in every sport. And that's what they see. They see the numbers. It's being vetted. And so these decisions is based on that. Our presidents know that our brand of football, of SEC culture, our universities, what we mean, what we're doing, it is exploding, and they're making these decisions based on that. But what they also know, too, is this, and I don't think people realize this, there is great football, there's great passion in Big Ten country, there's great passion out west, great passion up north, but it's nothing in comparison to what's happening down here. And where we're growing down here, people don't realize college football is actually declining in the north and out west in terms of people growing in the sport of it. And that's what they know. And so when they go silo, given all those factors, they know it's going to trend forward for the SEC. They absolutely know it. And that's what everybody's saying down here. The SEC fans are excited about SEC only play. It is not that we're scared of the Big Ten. Kudos to the Big Ten. They've done great. I still think the SEC is the best conference, but they've done a fantastic job, especially over the years. But it's nothing like playing the Alabamas, the Tennessees, the LSUs, the Mississippi States, the Georgias, the Floridas. It's inbred in our culture down here. And that culture is expanding. And that's what the television executives know. They know that the product is sellable. I mean, all of our stadiums are packing out, fans going crazy. It doesn't matter who you're playing. The stadiums are packed. The people are excited because it's bred in us down here. And it sells. And this is why these decisions are being made. This is why when those presidents meet in this meeting next week, they're going to look across the room at each other and they're going to smile because they know we have a product that's growing, that is expanding, and a culture that's rising. And that's why they're going to have confidence making the decision they're making. Sure, there's going to be blowback. But there's already blowback. There's been blowback on the SEC for years. For years. And so this is exciting time. I'm not surprised what the AD said of Georgia, because he's only echoing what people are talking about down here. Everyday people is talking about what he's saying. Alabama versus Georgia is must-see TV. It just is. And we would rather watch that than watch Texas and Ohio State. Or why? It's not that we don't like these teams. We don't. We do. We love all college football. But SEC on SEC is just bred in everyone down here. And that culture is not just staying in the South, but it's expanding north and west, because you have people moving here in these areas, and it's growing. Greg, appreciate the job that you do. Love to hear your summary of what I just said, and keep up the good work.
You got it, buddy. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Edward, the Auburn Tiger. All right. Edward, the Auburn Tiger. A lot of people in Southeastern Conference country agrees with the sentiment of Edward, the Auburn Tiger. In fact, I've got really good evidence of something that just happened here. Are we still doing calls? I had to take the phone off the hook. I want to show you guys something. All right? I want to show you guys something right now. And this gets back to, how do I say this? Again, I do not have this sentiment, okay? I am showing you guys something. I do not agree with it. I'm just showing it to you, all right? Woo! You remember when I said a few months ago, I tried to get this point across that the SEC is not really into you, right? I've given you examples in my younger days, before I was married, in high school, college, whatever. I don't want to go down that road again on this live show, but, sometimes a girl isn't into you, all right? Sometimes they're just not into you. You got to learn to take rejection. That's just the way life is. The SEC does not look at the Big 12 like the Big 12 fans think that the SEC looks at them. Same thing with the ACC. Same thing with the Big 10. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that's how it is. And I don't think people are capturing that enough. I get it. People don't like the Southeastern Conference because of their arrogance. People are starting not to like the Big 10 of it because of their arrogance. I'm just telling you that's how it is. Nathan brought up a bunch of good points. But the SEC's not into the... Look, I'm going to show you guys something. If this doesn't encapsulate everything, I don't know what to tell you. I do not know what to tell you. Let me show you this. Just 31 minutes ago. 31 minutes ago. The great Brett McMurphy, via Anwar Richardson down in burnt orange country, shots fired at Texas Tech. Texas Steve Sarkisian, via Anwar Richardson, there's a team in our state in another conference with a schedule that I would argue, if I played with our 2s and 3s, would go undefeated, and they probably make the college football playoffs this year. Of course that's about Texas Tech. Of course that's about the Big 12 champions. Of course that's about the chalk in the Big 12 this year, along with BYU. And that's what Steve Sarkisian is saying. That's what they believe. Even though Texas an eyelash away from losing to Arizona State in the playoff 2 years ago. This is what the Longhorns believe. This is what the Southeastern Conference believes. So no, it's not about what is right or wrong. It's about the Southeastern Conference is not going to go into a collective bargaining agreement or any agreement at all with the national us. Not with the Big Ten, not with the Big 12, not with the ACC. We're going into silos. It's not an empty threat. It's basically a promise at this point. I mean, look at that comment. Look at Morehead. Look, you've got Greg Sankey saying things in public. He's being diplomatic. I get along with all the commissioners. Oh, Greg, see? They get along. They're professional. That means there's not DEFCON 1. No, it's been DEFCON 1 for months. That's all polite talk. This is what they think. Look at that. If I played with my 2s and 3s, we'd be undefeated in the Big 12. And Texas Tech is going to make the play. That's what they think about the Big 12. It's not just Steve Sarkisian. That's what they think about the ACC. That's what they think about half of the Big Ten. They've given this national narrative, tried to get codification. They've done all of that. It didn't work. They have no interest in getting into any A4 agreements other than that carve out that they had to do to try to push ahead on legislation within the NCAA umbrella. But if they break away from the NCAA, they're breaking away. They're making their own decisions, their own rules, their own enforcement. Eva Badger, $5 holla, $5 holla. Sorry, but there's a lot more to do up north. There's not much to do in southeastern part of the country. Oh, I bet that's getting a very warm welcome. That $5 holla. Thank you, Eva Badger. Speaking up for the North. Thank you so much for your generosity. I appreciate it. Yeehaw Junction. The ACC. Thank you, Yeehaw Junction, for coming on in. I appreciate it, sir or ma'am. ACC would be stable in their silo. Schools were considering leaving was to keep up with higher revenue schools. Duke, North Carolina, Virginia would likely prefer to silo with their equal revenue ACC friends. Why I applaud the settlement, I do not quite agree. Yeah, I'm not quite with you on that, Yeehaw Junction, but I appreciate the comment. I appreciate it. I don't think going in the silo is gonna protect the potential poaching. Ears Fan 21. College football is like a Saturday religion in the South. It is different in a good way, but make no mistake, viewership would decrease if they silo. The Big 12 fans don't wake up needing to watch SEC football. Great for Trojan. No way any of these conferences are going to agree to anything anymore. Tom Brady called it Texas Tech a JUCO school. I saw that. MBM, Texas won the Big 12 twice. The Big Lubbock, the Longhorns are afraid to play the Red Raiders rent-free in their heads. Love it. Once again, we've been on the air for 2 hours and 24 minutes. I do appreciate Mohr After Dark, Evil Badger, Kenneth Moen, Moore Simmons, Christopher Hooter, the CFB Mafia, Noah Berman, Kenneth Maynard, Moen Dark, Preston from Greensboro, Ryan Brooks. I did not see this. I apologize. Purple and Gold, LSU, a member of our program for 29 months. Sorry, joining late from work. Did you cover the Coach O coming back to LSU yet? I'll rewatch once the show's over. Go Tigers. Yes, we did. Coach Oregon is back in LSU with Lane Kiffin. They've been friends for a while, a long time, a decade or so. And they're either going to win 3 or 4 national titles, or they're going to be sharing a jail cell. No, I'm just kidding. That was a comment that I saw on X. I thought it was pretty funny. And again, I think LSU is going to surprise a lot of people. I got them in the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Coach O is probably going to help out the LSU Tigers immediately. Thank you, Ryan Brooks. Thank you for becoming a member for 29 months. Again, Skaven, yes. Thank you, Cornhusker, for becoming a new member once again. I know it's not your first time. It ain't going to be your last time. Ryan Brooks and Skaven, yes. Thank you so very much. Both of you are knighted Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. What a show. We've been on the air for almost 2.5 hours. I got to get off because I've got a busy day ahead of me. I do want to thank all of you for joining us. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and smash the like button if you've liked our content. Make sure you ring that notification bell and follow us at X at Flug Empire. Because if you notice with this breaking news, we had to come on earlier than expected. We cover the news. President Morehead of Georgia. If we do not get federal legislation, and you're not going to get it, we're going to have to do this conference by conference because we can't allow the Wild West to continue any longer. I'm prepared next week in Destin to be ready to vote on creating an SCC mechanism, SCC rules that we have to do. Congress isn't going to act like they should. We just cannot continue down the road of current path. We have waited months after months for Congress to act, and it hasn't occurred yet. So, and they're not. And again, I'm not a believer that the A4 together the SEC is getting ready, the Big Ten is getting ready, and the ACC and the Big 12 are most likely getting ready. This is the new world that we're heading into. And there's still a lot of people that don't believe it. There's still a lot of people that think it's an idle threat. It's just smoke. It's just drama. It's just leverage. We're way beyond that. And the main reason why is that nobody has an option. Nobody can come up with one. They've already played their cards on the congressional action. It did not work. They've already had these A4 meetings all the time. And there is strong disagreement with their perceptions of the Cruz-Cantwell bill, their perception of the Cody plan, their perception of the CSC right now. Strong disagreement within the Power Four. It ain't happening. The SCC going their own way. The only question is timing and the severity. Is it going to be a partial silo or a full silo? The silo spectrum, we're going to socialize that term, the silo spectrum. Where does the SCC exactly go to in the silo spectrum? And again, during our live show, President Morehead came out and said it would be fantastic if we had an SEC only postseason. It would be fantastic. So that is where we sit today on May 21st. Where do we sit tomorrow on May 22nd? I do not know, but I know we're going to have a live show here at Peek Around the Corner. So please subscribe, ring that notification bell, keep your head on a swivel, buckle up, and brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, the beloved Golden Gophers.